A deep silence filled the mission control room at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. Screens blinked, telemetry streamed, but no one was speaking. Everyone was staring at the latest transmission from the James Webb Space Telescope. Something had appeared in the data feed, something that shouldn't exist. Just days earlier, astronomers had picked up a strange object streaking through the solar system. It was labeled 3IKTIS, the third officially confirmed interstellar object to ever enter our system, following the mysterious Oumuamua in 2017 and Borisov in 2019. At first, 3IKTIS seemed like just another elongated rock, moving fast, with a hyperbolic trajectory that confirmed it came from outside our solar system. But James Webb saw something else. The telescope locked onto 3IKTIS as it moved past the orbit of Jupiter. Using its near-infrared instruments, it began imaging the object at high resolution. Scientists expected a dusty, icy surface. Instead, they got something that froze their blood. The images showed sharp, geometric patterns along the object's surface. Not craters, not erosion. Straight lines, interlocking ridges, grid-like formations. Natural objects don't look like this. And then came the infrared scans. Heat signatures that pulsed in intervals like a heartbeat. Regular, repeating, not just warmth from the sun, but a pattern, a signal. NASA's lead astrophysicist, Dr. Elaine Kwan, leaned in close to the monitor. "That's not geological," she said softly. "It's emitting something structured." They reran the scans. Same result. The object was radiating at frequencies no known asteroid or comet should produce. And the structure, it resembled architecture. More than that, it looked modular, as if it had parts, possibly even chambers. The data was immediately classified. Within 30 minutes, internal emails between NASA, ESA, and the Pentagon escalated. There were demands for real-time footage. Military satellites were retasked. Observatories were ordered to stand down on tracking. But someone leaked the images. Within hours, compressed footage and screenshots were appearing on deep space forums, Discord groups, and encrypted social media pages. An anonymous user dropped 5 images showing 3IKTIS from different angles. One image showed a hexagonal opening along its surface, like a hatch. Another showed a sudden pulse of blue light near its core. NASA refused to comment, but inside the Webb control room, alarms had already been raised, not just because of what the telescope had seen, but because it was being watched back. Their final scan, before the object moved beyond Webb's imaging range, came back with an error message, "Signal disrupted." At first, they thought it was a glitch. Then, the system flagged something impossible, a faint transmission, bouncing back from 3IKTIS, a rebound. Someone, or something, had intercepted the scan. Dr. Kwan stared at the screen. "We tried to observe it. It observed us instead." The room fell silent. For the first time since the telescope launched, the Webb team initiated full system lockdown. They encrypted all imaging data and isolated Webb's communication channel. But it was too late. The object had moved past Mars' orbit, heading back out of the solar system. Fast. And just before it vanished from Webb's sight, it changed course. The object was no longer following its predicted trajectory. At first, everything about 3IKTIS seemed routine, at least in the sense that anything interstellar could be considered routine. Initial calculations showed it would slingshot around the Sun, pick up speed, and exit the solar system, just as Borisov and Oumuamua had done. A cosmic tourist briefly visible, then gone forever. But then, the data shifted. Telemetry from the Pan-STIRRS Array and CROSS, confirmation from the European Southern Observatory, both showed the same disturbing truth. The object's velocity had subtly adjusted, not from solar gravity, not from planetary influence, not from any known astrophysical force. It had turned. At Goddard, the James Webb Space Telescope team scrambled to reorient its mirrors. The JWST was powerful, but it was never designed to track objects changing course with deliberate precision. Within minutes, the window was lost. 3IKTIS slipped out of Webb's optimal viewing zone, a silent trespasser now hiding in the dark. Other observatories rushed to reacquire it. The Deep Space Network trained its massive antennas. Chandra swung to scan for high-energy emissions. For a moment, signals flickered back on screen, then chaos. The object began emitting a strange, fluctuating energy signature. Optical sensors froze. X-ray instruments spiked into static. Magnetometers whined with overload warnings. Across multiple agencies, the same anomaly was logged simultaneously. A burst of gamma radiation paired with a sharp magnetic spike. It wasn't lethal, but it was disruptive, almost like a jamming signal. Inside a private, secured teleconference between NASA and the Department of Defense, the mood was grim. Military brass sat stone, faced as the lead presenter, Dr. Elaine Kwan, cycled through slides of corrupted telemetry and scrambled returns. "This isn't just an object passing through," she said finally, her voice steady but edged with exhaustion. "This thing has changed course, jammed multiple sensors, and responded to our scans. That's not physics. That's intention." Silence followed. One general leaned forward, his ribbons catching the glow of the monitor. "Are you saying it's a probe?" Dr. Kwan hesitated. Then she clicked to a final enhanced composite, an image built from Webb's last coherent snapshots. At its center was the hexagonal cavity on 3IATLS's surface. Around the edges were dark streaks. At first they looked random, but magnification revealed something else: scorch marks, scars, the kind of patterns thrusters might leave. "I'm saying," Kwan replied, "that it's engineered, possibly ancient, and possibly not passive." Across the room, someone swore under their breath. Meanwhile, at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, a quieter discovery unfolded. Buried deep in background telemetry, beneath the noise of solar radiation and cosmic static, an anomaly appeared: a low-frequency signal. Not random. Modulated weeks of filtering pulled it into clarity. The signal had two components: a repeating mathematical sequence, prime numbers increasing in order, then resetting, starting again. The oldest signature of intelligent origin, a complex audio waveform. Its patterns were eerily reminiscent of speech, with rises, pauses, and inflections that mimicked language. JPL passed the data to SETI, who in turn called in Dr. Sahil Banerjee, a linguist specializing in xenolinguistic theory. After 3 days without sleep, Banerjee made his announcement. "This signal isn't being sent outward," he said, voice cracking. "It's directed inward. It's not calling for help. It's calling something already here." The implication froze the room. If 3IATLS wasn't broadcasting into the void, then what was it trying to awaken? As that question spiraled through agencies, something else happened. A dormant listening post in Antarctica, Station 46, a joint U.S.-French array buried in the East Antarctic Plateau, came online with an urgent report. Its seismic monitors, designed for detecting glacial shifts, had picked up a rhythmic pulse. Not random tremors, not icequakes, a signal, the same frequency, the same modulation. And it wasn't coming from the sky. It was coming from beneath 4 kilometers of ice. The technician's cross matched the Antarctic signal with JPL's filtered data. Together, they formed a complete pattern. 1/2 from space, 1/2 from Earth. Like two sides of a conversation resuming after a silence that had lasted who knew how long. NASA's classified satellite, Sentinel-9, was immediately retasked to scan the Dome Sea region. Its radar penetrated the ice, layer after layer, until the data stopped everyone cold. There was a structure, massive, circular, buried deeper than any expedition had ever drilled, and at its center was a core, pulsing in perfect synchronization with 3IATLS. The object above had not simply altered course, it had called to its twin, and the twin had answered. Inside Mission Command, panic began to boil. Phone lines were cut from public networks. Security clearances were upgraded on the spot. Even the president's science advisors weren't briefed on the full truth. In the classified logs, one phrase appeared again and again, entered by anonymous analysts, whispered across encrypted channels. THYRELREADYHR. The revelation shook the foundations of every agency involved. What they thought had been an astronomical curiosity, a wandering interstellar traveler, was now something far more deliberate. 3I-80 was not just a rock from deep space, it was a trigger, and the structure beneath Antarctica was no longer dismissed as a geological anomaly. It was a receiver, a station, perhaps even a base, hidden in plain sight, frozen for millennia, waiting for a signal. The fallout was immediate. NASA convened emergency meetings with the Department of Defense, and within hours an emergency task force from the United Nations was summoned. Out of those sessions, an operation was born: Project Eden Vale. Its mandate was simple yet impossible: keep the truth contained. All satellite feeds over Antarctica were quietly blurred. Civilian astronomers who noticed unusual patterns in orbital data suddenly found their internet connections throttled, their posts filtered out of search engines by manipulated algorithms. Some, after persistent attempts to publish, disappeared from forums entirely. Journalists who had been chasing stories about strange seismic activity on the ice sheet found themselves stonewalled. But silencing the world wouldn't silence the object. 3 weeks after deviating from its projected trajectory, 3I-80 did something no one could explain. Instead of continuing its path toward deep space, it slowed. Gradually, deliberately, it adjusted its orbit, not around Earth, but around the Moon, like a satellite taking station. It wasn't drifting, it wasn't crashing, it had parked itself. Then the unthinkable happened. The side of the object facing Earth shifted. 6 massive panels unfolded outward, methodical, surgical in their precision. The interior was revealed, an inner core glowing with soft, electric blue light. The glow pulsed once every 6 seconds. Observatories scrambled to capture data, and what they found made even the most hardened military officials pale. Every pulse was mirrored, second for second, by the Antarctic structure beneath the ice. It was a handshake. NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Array confirmed it within minutes. The light wasn't random. It was forming patterns, spirals, sequences, coded instructions. Analysts converted the visual data into binary, and what emerged was chilling diagrams, schematics, but not of the object itself. These were schematics of Earth's crust. Dr. Elaine Kwan, now pulled from public view and relocated to an underground command facility, worked with a team of linguists, coders, and physicists to parse the stream. The first decoded fragment read, Sequence prime, Thousand Wonders confirmed surface match Batsidrid local core signature verified Osigure preparing interface activation. The message was blunt. The object had scanned Earth. It had confirmed the presence of a counterpart beneath the ice, and now it was preparing to activate it. Panic rippled across control centers. Military analysts debated preemptive strikes, though no weapon on Earth had any guarantee of destroying something that had casually traveled across interstellar space. Scientists demanded more data. Politicians demanded silence. Then came the second pulse, stronger. Seismic monitors in Antarctica registered tremors. Not chaotic ones, but measured, symmetrical vibrations resonant across hundreds of kilometers. Not earthquakes, not chance. This was machinery. Something buried was waking up. Within 48 hours, multinational teams were deployed to Dome C, one of the most remote regions of the ice sheet. Among them was Colonel Marcus Hale, representing U.S. Space Command, and Dr. L.A. Moreau, a French geologist specializing in deep ice anomalies. Their mission was clear: drill, descend, and reach the structure. Find out what was inside before the lunar object finished its activation sequence. Drilling operations began under armed guard. Every meter downward revealed anomalies: heat spikes, electromagnetic interference, even fluctuations in compass bearings. Finally, on the 7th day, the team struck something solid, a surface not ice, black, metallic, warm to the touch, too smooth to be natural, too perfect to be man-made. They had reached the shell. Scanners couldn't penetrate more than a few meters. Ground-penetrating radar was scrambled into static. The material seemed designed to resist analysis. But the closer they came, the stranger the side effects grew. Crew members began reporting vivid dreams, visions of alien skies, impossible cities, and beings made of both shadow and light. Some dismissed them as stress hallucinations. Others swore they were messages. On the 8th day, the shell opened. It did not explode. It did not shatter. It peeled back like petals unfolding, silent and deliberate, as though it had been waiting for their arrival. Inside was a hollow chamber. To their astonishment, the air was breathable, sterile, preserved. Lights flickered on across the walls, illuminating alien symbols that shifted and rearranged themselves, adapting as if recognizing the human presence. The team stepped inside cautiously. Their voices echoed strangely, too sharp, too perfect. As their eyes adjusted, they realized the truth. This was no mere outpost. It was a vault. At its center floated another object. It was identical in shape and size to 3I-ATLS, a twin. But unlike its counterpart in space, this one had been here all along, buried deep beneath the Antarctic ice, untouched by human history. The implications hit all of them at once. This was no accident, no coincidence. One probe waiting in the void, one hidden beneath Earth, both silent until the right moment. Twin sentinels. Moreau's voice trembled as she whispered into her mic, her words carried to every command station across the globe. Didn't find them. They've been waiting for us to be ready. High above, orbiting the moon, 3I-ATLS pulsed again. And this time, for the first time in human history, at 0314 UTC, the pulse from 3I-ATLS intensified. It no longer blinked in intervals. Now it burned, a constant, unwavering beam of blue light projected toward Earth, striking the southern pole with terrifying precision. Not a weapon, not a laser, but something infinitely more advanced. A data bridge. A stream of information traveling at the speed of light, not just to be seen, but to be absorbed. Beneath Antarctica, inside the massive vault that had opened under Dome C, the second probe, Earth's dormant twin, began to respond. It woke me up. The shell around it became translucent, revealing an inner core of glowing threads, thousands of them, weaving in real time, forming shifting patterns that looked like circuitry and DNA at once. Machines embedded in the vault's walls started to hum. Dust lifted from the floor. Gravity pulsed like a heartbeat. The chamber was coming alive. Dr. L.A. Moreau stood frozen in her exosuit, eyes wide as the core of the Earth-bound probe projected a 3D structure in midair. It looked like a map, not of stars, not of galaxies. It was a map of Earth's history. Continents moved. Oceans shifted. Civilizations bloomed and collapsed in seconds. Time accelerated forward, through empires, wars, revolutions into the modern age. Then the projection stopped. It hovered over a date. September 2nd, 2025. Dr. Moreau's voice cracked through the radio. It's marking today. Above ground, in mission control, Dr. Kwan watched in stunned silence. They planned this. All of this, the entry, the orbit, the activation, today was always the threshold. Then the vault deep beneath Antarctica shook violently, not from collapse, but from motion. The floor split, revealing a circular shaft beneath the probe. Light streamed upward. More symbols carved themselves across the walls, lines of alien language that rotated and clicked into alignment like some forgotten countdown. The probe rose into the air, unsupported, and hovered mid-chamber. A ring of light spun around it. One by one, it began projecting what could only be described as instructions. Blueprints, schematics, massive structures, each one labeled with alien glyphs. But some of those glyphs now contained English translations, crude but legible: planetary core stabilization engine, atmospheric repair array, species memory integration, archive upload. Stage 1, the realization hit everyone at once. This was not an invasion, it was terraforming, or more accurately, re-terraforming, restoration, calibration. Like Earth had always been part of a larger network. And now that the space probe had returned, the system had rebooted. Project Eden Vale's director whispered, "This is infrastructure. We're standing inside the code of a planetary operating system." But then something changed. The moon probe, 3I-ATLS, sent out a new pulse. It was different this time. The probe beneath Earth hesitated, the language shifted again. Two words appeared in ready, ERR, Uniusoritas Mrs. Eam. Suddenly, the chamber lights dimmed. The vault trembled again. Screens began flashing with corrupted sequences. The probe in orbit had overridden part of the activation. Dr. Kwan's team watched as a second set of schematics appeared. Darker, sharper. These were not for stabilization. These were labeled atmospheric override, population restructuring, species integration, type dominance protocol initiated. Far above, on the moon's surface, something began to unfold from the outer shell of 3IHATLS. Massive antennae, like structures extended like petals. What had once looked like a simple interstellar object now resembled a satellite or a command node. The probe on Earth began to stutter. Its language became conflicted. Some sequences attempting repair, others submitting to the override. The two halves of the system were no longer in agreement. It wasn't a reunion. It was a battle. One side wanted to restore the Earth. The other wanted to claim it. Dr. Moreau grabbed the mic. We have to shut it down, or choose a side. But it was too late. The vault's outer doors sealed shut. The machinery around the Earth probe folded inward, protecting it. Then the walls began to shimmer. On every device around the globe connected to the Deep Space Network, NASA, ESA, JAXA, even China's CNSA. One final message blinked into view. PRR Refialcion Silkadidi Adiapanti Ion, HPIs well BS ENT grady. The countdown began. The countdown echoed silently across every terminal, screen, and sensor array connected to the global satellite web. A creeping tension filled the itself had exhaled and was now holding its breath. Arrow, Zozos and Wolsuhner Fifi 9 as Ordolers and Wolfrusen 58. Inside the vault beneath Antarctica, red lights now pulsed across the walls. The Earth-based probe had entered a sealed state, protected by its own defense mechanisms. The environment had stabilized, but it no longer responded to commands. Every attempt to interrupt the override was blocked by a higher-level encryption, not just alien, but something the systems identified as organic coded protocol, not software. Biological encryption. Dr. Moreau realized with horror what that meant. The override could only be stopped by a specific biological imprint, a being not a machine. Above 3IIS hovered in lunar orbit, its massive antennae now fully extended. Blue light flickered in bursts across its hull, but at the tips of its petals, small, dark shapes began to detach. Satellites, or pods, no larger than shuttles. Each one silently drifted from the mother probe and began descending toward Earth. 2, then 6, then 20. Each pod followed a precise path, avoiding detection, bypassing military defense grids as if the system had already accounted for them, or worse, was already part of them. Inside NASA's command center, alarm screamed. At the White House, a DEFO level was raised. Across the globe, strange visual phenomena began: glowing clouds in high orbit, magnetic field fluctuations, and bursts of static in all wireless communication bands. Even civilian electronics were affected. Phones glitched, GPS drifted, AI assistants shut down mid-sentence, and then the dreams began. Not just among the research team, but around the world, millions of people, across every continent, began reporting the same vision: a sky turned red, a machine rising from the ocean, a voice, not male or female, whispering directly into their minds. Why have returned to complete what was interrupted? You are not the first, but you can be the last. 00207-7026. Inside the Antarctic vault, Dr. Moreau and Colonel Hale made a final attempt. Using a portable resonance amplifier, they approached the probe's outer casing and played back the original transmission. The prime signal sent by James Webb, the first message that had triggered the awakening. The probe reacted. The countdown paused. Just for a second. The alien symbols shifted again. This time, they formed a series of alternating glyphs, one red, one blue. The display then showed a split pathway: Path 1 integration, Path 2 isolation, and beneath both, a blinking phrase: Select biological executor. Dr. Moreau stepped forward. No, it's not asking us to choose humanity's fate, she realized. It's offering to let one of us take control, to become the interface. Colonel Hale looked at her, jaw clenched. You mean merge with it? Moreau nodded. One consciousness. One choice. A single mind to act as bridge between species or firewall. The countdown resumed. Odor Hunters 47 above. The pods reached the stratosphere. Odor Hunters 23. Dr. Moreau removed her suit's oxygen feed. She stepped forward into the beam. No authorization. No command line. It wants a mind. A will. The probe responded. Light wrapped around her, not burning, not choking, just consuming. Symbols etched themselves into her skin like ink dissolving in water. Her body levitated. Eyes rolled back. Heart stopped. Then restarted. The vault froze. All systems halted. Above the pod stopped descending midair. Inside every satellite command hub, the words appeared in a dozen languages. New executor identified. Dr. L.A. Moreau. Command authority granted. Then silence. For a full hour, nothing moved. The world held still. Then, across every screen. Television, radio, smartphone. An image appeared. Dr. Moreau, standing in the heart of the vault, her eyes glowing silver. And a voice, calm, clear, hers and not hers. This is not a war. This is a return. The systems seated in your world long before your history began are now waking. I have chosen the path. Humanity will remain, but it will change. You are no longer alone, or vanish. Then the feed cut. No more countdown. Just the slow return of systems and skies clear as before. But in the oceans and beneath the icy, something enormous shifted just once, and then was still again. The transition had begun.